Hey folks, this is Jake Davis, bringing you a my favorite year video tonight. And my house is so goddamn dark, it's virtually a cave. I am losing light rapidly in this motherfucker. Let's see if I can maneuver a little bit. Yeah, that's a bit better. Yeah, I'm working by lamplight tonight. It's all good in the hood. Anyhow, this is my second ever my favorite year video. My other one was in 1993, where I literally covered the entire year of 93, at least, movies I've seen wise. Yeah. Don't want y'all up in my business like that. It's a little impersonal, you know. Need distance. We need some space so we can stay friendly, you know what I'm saying? Anyhow, tonight, what I'm covering is the year of 2005. In the year 2005, I turned 21. It's quite a long time ago. That also just happened to be the year I went to the theaters the most. I saw 12 different movies at the theaters that year, at least. And I saw a total of 82 films in all that were released theatrically from that year. Uh, so yeah, let's talk about them. Why not? We're going to talk about all of them. Why? Because it's late, and we talk about movies, and I've been drinking. Yeah. Anyhow. Oh, also, check this out. My wife got me this little Pennywise Funko Pop, man. It's so cool. I love Pennywise. I showed that to my daughter, and she ran. Yeah, smart kid. uh, okay, first category. Talking about sequels, reboots, and remakes. Basically talking about the continuations of franchises here in the first bout. Uh, First movie on the list is Star Wars Episode 3 Revenge of the Sith. This was the highest grossing movie of the year, and I fucking hated this movie. True story. I was almost booed out of the cinema for cussing at the screen while watching this movie. That is in no way an exaggeration. That actually happened, because I was that big of a dick. I was so pissed watching this movie. This movie was so bad. I even heard people say it was like, the better of the three prequels. It's like, that was like, the least painful diarrhea you had of that day. You know what I mean? Revenge of the Sith was garbage. It was a piece of shit. For my money, it was the worst of the three prequels. But, don't get into that. I ain't gonna tell you what my favorite of diarrhea rounds were. Go watch my Star Wars video for that. Next up, we have The Chronicles of Narnia, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. This was a good movie. It was a real good movie. I believe it won an Oscar for its makeup effects. I remember seeing a video of Andrew Adamson, who also directed Shrek, talk about how he how his memory of Narnia may be far more expensive than C.S. Lewis's actual novel was. The a star-making performance from James McAvoy, who became just such a great movie star, and Tilda Swinton's just perfectly cast in that, and the great Jim Broadbent, of course. But to me, one of the real selling factors of that film has always been the kids, especially little Georgie Henley was so good as Lucy Pevensey. Just from what I had remembered about reading the book as a kid, when I was watching it in the theaters, it was like, wow, so many things came to fruition, came to a forefront of my memories. Like, I remember this, I remember that bit. Where at the same time, it also kind of brought new things to the story, like the whole opening sequence of the air raids in London, were all real interesting and good decisions for the film. It's a very, very good movie. The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It's a shame neither sequels were really on par for it because yeah, it was a really good film. Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire. As I've said before in my Harry Potter video way back in November, where I covered the whole franchise of Harry Potter movies. I recently bought the first two Potter films on DVD to rewatch with my daughter, so I rewatched Sorcerer's Stone recently, and it's still a good movie. It's a good movie. Uh, I've been putting off Chamber of Secrets. It's always been my least favorite. But with Goblet of Fire was a movie I always liked, and I've said before that, I saw it at the theaters. I took a couple of my cousins to see it. I think it was even on my 21st birthday is when I took them to see it. It just figures, my birthday and I treat someone else. But I was totally oblivious that of any of the details of what happens in the book or anything like that. So when like Ray Fiennes pops up at the end of the movie as Voldemort, I was like, oh shit, this got a whole lot fucking better. Ray Fiennes, hell yeah, Ray Fiennes. Ray Fiennes is great. Not Harry Potter, I already said that. War of the Worlds. The War of the Worlds movie, man. Spielberg's War of the Worlds. It's in a lot of ways that movie kind of ruined Tom Cruise's career, but not because of what that movie was or what they did in it, but more because of his whole attitude when promoting it. That's when he had his whole breakdown in Oprah and the whole calling Matt Lauer glib, even though in a lot of ways I kind of agree with what Cruise was saying about Matt Lauer's whole attitude, even though I don't agree with what Cruise was saying on anything else. It was one of those weird situations, but I mean, it was, when you see the hubris of a movie star thinking that people actually give a shit about what you have to say and your opinions, it really reached embarrassing scale with Cruise in 2005. He got past it, though. He really did. Gotta give the guy credit. I mean, with the Mission Impossible movies and performances in films like Tropic Thunder and Oblivion, and I'm forgetting something here. That movie, Night and Day, were really good. He's really he's been able to get back on his feet from it. Peter Jackson's King Kong. You want to talk about just such a wasted opportunity for a movie there, man. I saw that film at the theaters twice. The second time was not by choice. I mean, it was just, I would have understood the whole breaking down of making a 3-hour movie if it would have been if it had been structured a little better. Okay, if we had like an hour on the boat and in the city getting to Skull Island, if 45 minutes to an hour building up to that made sense. About an hour and a half for 80 minutes or so on Skull Island, all kinds of madness. That would have made sense. And with about 30 minutes or 45 minutes back in New York, it could have worked. But no. No! There's an hour left of the movie when we get back to New York. The fucking World Trade Center, the Empire State Building sequence itself is a solid 16 minutes. That's over a quarter of an hour. That's too much time for just basically a monkey fucking swatting planes like they're fucking flies. The movie was the epitome of indulgence and self-righteousness. There was no limit. There's no pullback. There's no breaks. Well, how much is too much? Nobody was asking that question while shooting 2005's King Kong. And the film suffered for it. I think it's a bad movie overall. Despite really looking good and sounding great, it's a bad movie. My voice is kind of fucked up. I've been yelling at people all day. Tim Burton's Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I enjoy this movie a lot more than most people do. I mean, Johnny Depp, while he's not as good as Gene Wilder is, of course not. At least he does his own thing. The problem is it's something you've seen Depp do time and time again, even at that point of his career. Where at the same time, I think it was a chance for Tim Burton to show off some of the stuff that he's absolute best at, telling fantasies and creating worlds that are in our world, but not really. Uh, I really, really enjoyed the film, and what I liked the most about it is how it set itself apart from the original Gene Wilder film, which I never liked as a kid. I didn't like the songs, even though I don't like the songs in the Burton movie either. I do think that Gene Wilder songs are better. I do prefer the Tim Burton movie, even though I know I am well aware I am in a very, very small minority of that. Batman Begins. I'm also in a small minority of thinking Batman Begins is Christopher Nolan's best Batman film. I felt he fell into the traps of the Peters franchise far too much with his two sequels, making the guest star villains too much of the center of the story. What made Batman Begins unique and different and interesting was the fact that Batman was the star of the Batman movie. I mean, easily the best thing about Batman Begins is Batman, Christian Bale's performance. He brings a physical level and this self-awareness to the role where he's like portraying Batman as almost is like a monster at the same time as his theatrical character at the same time, which he got a little bit lazy with in the sequels, in my opinion. But I thought Christian Bale was terrific in that first movie. And I really loved how the villains took a back seat, even though it was some of my favorite Batman villains, like the Scarecrow and Ra's al Ghul. And they couldn't even pronounce Ra's al Ghul right, but don't get me started on that. It's important to see, it's important to know that they had a filmmaker that thought Batman was the key to making a good Batman movie. Finally, you know what I mean? So, Batman Begins will always have a nice soft spot in my heart. Even though the movie does have its problems. Too many supporting characters, too much background music. Every scene is scored. We don't need a score for every scene. The scene where this guy goes into a warehouse, there's nothing in the warehouse, he gets shot. Why was that scene composed? That scene didn't need music. It's 14 fucking seconds long. It didn't need music. Sorry, moving on. The Longest Yard. Holy, sweet, merciful Christ. One question. Have you ever seen Burt Reynolds' The Longest Yard? No, not The Longest Yard. 1974 movie. That's a movie. That's a good movie. See that movie. Avoid this Nelly shit with a passion. And I don't want to blame Nelly. It wasn't Nelly's fault. It was Adam Sandler's fault. He just dragged Nelly and Chris Rock and Stone Cold and Kevin Nash and Brian Bosworth and the Great Khali and Burt Reynolds down with it. Not to mention, fucking James Cromwell. But James Cromwell can roll and shit and look good. He's James Cromwell. He's one of those kind of actors. Saw 2. Look, I might do a whole video about the Saw franchise one day, but I'm going to tell you just the story about Saw 2. I went to see Saw on opening weekend, and I've already said I turned 21. My birthday's in November, and this movie came out in October. Now, I stood in line, I bought my ticket, and it was me and 2 other teenagers. Well, they were teenagers, I was 20. And we buy the tickets for Saw. No problem. We're in the theater, going into the actual, the theater to watch the movie, into the actual screening, and they got like security there checking IDs, and they checked my ID, and it said that it was a few weeks till I turned 21, so they wouldn't let me go in and watch a screening of a movie that I had already bought 3 tickets for. This actually fucking happened to me. So they said, well, we could give you your money back. You just go see another movie. I had to wait for my ride. I was like, what the fuck, man? I was pissed off, so I went to see a different movie. And I will get to that monstrosity later. But, yeah, Saw 2 is a pretty good movie. There will be blood. Oh, yes. There will be blood. God, this video is going to be long. Just roll with it, y'all. Oh god, the Dukes of Hazzard. The best thing about the Dukes of Hazzard movie is Jessica Simpson's body. You're just utter fuckability. That was a garbage movie. They seem to have absolutely zero appreciation or care for the actual subject matter they were doing. Unlike Boss Hogg's Boss Hogg, Enos is Enos, Uncle Willie's Uncle Willie. But Luke and Bo aren't really Luke and Bo, and that was kind of fucked up. The Ring 2 was a really shitty movie that didn't have any need to even exist. It was total cash grab. Doing a remake of Japanese horror movie, okay, fine. But I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think there's a sequel to Ringu, which, why should there have been a sequel to The Ring? The Amityville Horror with Ryan Reynolds, Melissa George, and about 2.5 minutes of Rachel Nichols just showing up being drop dead sexy. I hate that movie. It's not a good movie. Ryan Reynolds just kind of out of his element, trying to play a serious role. We just didn't have quite the chops for it yet. However, I do have the original Amityville Horror somewhere here in my house, but I've never watched that film all the way through, despite Margot Robbie's set scene. The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy with Mos Def and Martin Freeman. Is it Martin? Yeah, Martin Freeman. Yeah. I love the old TV movie. I love the mythology of the story and everything. I've never been able to sit through the book. But it just feels like it was just too much story to try to work into one movie. Even though that movie did make an honest effort to do so, I would recommend seeing it even though it doesn't quite pull it off. The Legend of Zorro. Now that is a piece of shit I was forced to watch. Not forced, they did offer me my money back. But that was a movie me and my cousins went to see instead. Went to see The Legend of Zorro. Figured Zorro, why not? But all I remember about this movie was it's like the Confederacy is running the railroad in the 1840s, and I was just like, what? Just grab onto one thing here, y'all. Seriously, don't be completely historically ignorant. I'm just a fucking idiot raised in Alabama with no goddamn learning, but I know everything you just said there doesn't make fucking sense. Transporter 2. Transporter 1, when it first came out in 2002, was a pretty fun movie. I seem to remember it being this kind of weird thing, you see Jason Statham in a Snatch, and then the transporter comes out. It's like, where'd this kung fu badass come from? It was a weird thing from, I just had to like this, what do you want to call it? Almost like a ricochet effect, like, woo-doo, what, this and that now, whoa. But yeah, it's a fun movie. Both Transporter movies are really fun. I never saw the third one, actually. But I've always, for the most part, really enjoyed Jason Statham's action movies. What do you need to really make a proper action movie work? Well, a proper action hero. Sometimes that's a character, sometimes that's just a believable badass playing your hero. House of Wax. House of Wax is a guilty horror movie. Oh my god, I love House of Wax, but for all the wrong reasons. I will give it credit. I've always liked how it tried to completely do its own thing compared to the original House of Wax films. I did like the twin deal with the whole film. I liked the hand-built city in the middle of nowhere. I like Brian Van Holt's performance, and I like the backdrop with whatever happened to Baby Jane in there, which also complements the whole sibling manipulation thing of the film. I really do enjoy that movie, even though it's just as bad as everybody has ever said it is. The Fog. The Fog, the best thing about the 2005 Fog remake, which is, nothing about it, but this little featurette that was attached when it was coming out was basically just John Carpenter on the set kind of bragging. It's like, yeah, when I made mine back in the 70s, I had like $1 million, 2 fog machines, and Adrienne Barbeau's tits. And you're damn right I got a hit out of it. Which these guys weren't able to get a hit out of their CGI and Selma Blair's tits. Triple H State State of the Union. Why make a Triple H movie that doesn't feature the character Xander Cage? I enjoyed his cameo in Triple H: The Return of Xander Cage, but Ice Cube's character was really lame in State of the Union, and also it was an honest effort. He did try, but I don't really quite buy Ice Cube as an action hero. Not that he can't be a badass. Not like he can't come off as a tough guy. Just action hero isn't quite on his level. Maybe he can't really sell me as a hero in general. Serenity, which was the film adaptation of the TV show Firefly. I never saw the show Firefly. I really liked the movie Serenity. Nathan Fillion, Summer Glau, Marina Bakarin, and Alan Tudyk. They're all so good. It was why I was introduced to Chiwetel Ejiofor. It's a really, really fun movie. And I actually think it was Joss Whedon's first film that he directed. It's a fun movie. Check it out. But at the same time, I was a guy who watched the movie, never seen the show, and I loved it. So, you don't really have to see the show to know about it. Check out the movie. Elektra. Elektra is one of the worst superhero movies ever made, man. This movie didn't even have the common decency or pure pigitude to show off Jennifer Garner's body. It's garbage. It's a real piece of shit. Don't ever see Elektra, and you'll live longer. Land of the Dead was George A. Romero's long awaited follow-up to his Night, Dawn, and Dead trilogy. It was a big disappointment for me, mainly because John Leguizamo was the star. I liked Simon Baker, Dennis Hopper, Asia Argento were all fine in it. But to me, I kind of didn't like how now the zombies are more or less the heroes. And it just, I don't know, it kind of felt that was 30 years to plan the story, or 20 years to plan the story. I expected more coherency. It just showed that there wasn't a plan for a fourth one, like ever. Assault on Precinct 13 remake, dude, don't ever see it. Just see John Carpenter's original Assault on Precinct 13 with Napoleon Wilson is the main name of the character. What a fun movie. It's a great movie. Check that movie out. Same thing with The Producers. I bought oh my god, I actually bought the 2005 remake of The Producers without ever seeing it, because it was like, it was like for $1 at the pawn shop if you go watch it, and oh my god, it was garbage. It was trash. No LSD. Changing to the 50s. And if you've never seen the making Ula an important character, why? Really, why? It'd make more sense to just make up a new female character than make her something that matters. It was just, for someone who was such a fan and just really, really loved that old movie, it felt like a waste and a disrespectful and just really, it was bad. It was a really bad movie. The Devil's Rejects is kind of a classic. It's really a beloved horror movie. A sequel to Rob Zombie's House of a Thousand Corpses. I love it. My favorite scene, of course, is the chicken fucker scene. But the truth is, it's 2 halves of one. It's kind of an inconsistent movie. High Tension is a fake remake of a fake adaptation of Dean Koontz's Intensity, and it's a fucking piece of dog shit. Steaming dog shit movie with its own smell, in my opinion. Did you even know that Roman Polanski remade Oliver Twist? Yeah, he did that. Oh man, my next section is comedy, comedy, comedy. With 25 minutes talking about Oneception. Well, fuck it, just keep going, I guess. It's late. I'm drinking. Wedding Crashers. Wedding Crashers is one of my favorite comedies of all time. I love the movie. It's a great movie. 40-Year-Old Virgin is a very unique and original film. I would recommend anybody to see it. Steve Carell is very terrific in it, and I really love the whole grouping of the Smart Tech crew. A good collab of characters there in that film all around. Diary of a Mad Black Woman is, I don't really like the movie, but Medea is a hell of a character. The Ringer is a feature film length version of a South Park episode. Man of the House is Tommy Lee Jones surrounded by sexy chicks. Best thing about it is, yeah, Monica Keena. She was in Freddy vs. Jason. She was in this. It's a shame that sweet, sweet babe was only in those two movies, as far as I know. Waiting. Every restaurant in the entire country has claimed Waiting was based on their town, but it was based on my town. Bradenton, Florida. Shenanigans. That guy, Rob Kirkpatrick. Who cares? That guy, Bradenton. Trust me, it was Bradenton. It was my town. It wasn't your town, my town. Shut up. The Matador, an amazing performance of Pierce Brosnan. I don't want to talk about my mother, but my mother one time said that she compared, you look at Nicole Kidman in The Hours and Charlize Theron in Monster, just beautiful women, ugly themselves up, winning an Oscar. Both of them. Pierce Brosnan, gorgeous man, uglies himself up, belittles himself to a role like the Matador, gets completely snubbed by the Oscars, and she made a really good point. It was a great, great performance in Matador from Pierce Brosnan. Kiss Kiss Bang Bang is a movie I didn't see till years after it came out. It's a terrific movie. It's a great movie. See it if you haven't. Cartoons and family films. Madagascar. Oh my god, I hate Madagascar. I have Madagascar. We only watch it when my daughter wants to watch it, and every time she asks to watch it, I try to talk her out of it. Chicken Little is a piece. Did they really need to make a whole movie out of Chicken Little? Robots. Robots was garbage too. That was a piece of shit. The Pacifier. Somehow better than Robots. And Chicken Little. And Madagascar for that matter. Are we there yet? Just think about the movie Are We There Yet? This woman asked a man who she just met to pick her children up from the airport and drive them across country to her. This woman, they should call CPS on this lady. I don't care anything about Ice Cube's character. Nia Long is the real villain of that story. March of the Penguins. I don't know how 100% true this is, but I heard one time that March of the Penguins was actually this kind of situation where they where they just basically shot like this a typical Animal Planet or National Geographic thing, but when they got some editors involved and Morgan Freeman involved, decided to promote it as a movie, and it made a shitload of money and won an Oscar, when it's just basically a typical animal documentary. Sky High. I kind of love Sky High. No, actually, I really do love Sky High. It's a great movie. I don't know how famous or beloved it is. It was my introduction to the love of my life, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Don't tell my wife about that, by the way. I mean, she already knows, but don't tell her I told you that. It's a great movie. It's a fun movie that really played on superhero tropes and quirks. A terrific performance from Kurt Russell, as well as Bruce Campbell, and one of the best lines in all of superhero movies. From the silliness to the shrink ray, to the devastation of the death ray, these are the very foundations of mad science. I love that shit. Corpse Bride. I have tried to like Corpse Bride. I don't like Corpse Bride. Corpse Bride is not a good movie. People try to convince me of it. My wife, who's a big Tim Burton fan, I mean, we're both Tim Burton fans, but, she doesn't like it either. Just leads me to believe it's just not that good. Hoodwinked is god-awful trash. How'd that even get a theatrical release? That movie, to me, always felt like a cutscenes to a video game thrown together for a game that was never made. So they just put these cutscenes together and put it out as a movie and act like it made sense. Valiant. Valiant was an interesting idea, for an animated film that was basically about carrier pigeons during World War II. The problem is the film just kind of lacked anything good. Anything good about, bad animation and kind of forgettable all around movie. It was a good idea, but it was a bad movie. Next up, we got action movies and fight flicks. Oh, man. Mr. and Mrs. Smith is first on the board. And I say, considering that movie ruined a marriage, plus it's a piece of shit, that's a double reason to hate it. Tim Story's 2005 Fantastic Four, I loved that movie. I saw it at the theaters. It only had a $100 million budget. And compared to what you saw the summer before with Spider-Man 2, I thought it was very delivering as far as special effects wise. And, between Chadwick Boseman, holy shit. Between Michael Chiklis, Chadwick and Chiklis, like my mind hit the same name with those. And Chris Evans was terrific. Jessica Alba was terrific. And yeah, it's an unappreciated movie. It really is. Four Brothers. I loved Four Brothers. It's one of my favorite movies of this year. One second. From being this kind of the ultimate version of like an urban western to being like an unofficial remake of The Sons of Katie Elder, this really kind of perfected, well, like I said, the urban western. It was really fascinating filmmaking. Great characters with the Mercer brothers themselves, especially with Bobby and Angel, and a great villain with Victor Sweet, out of town shooters. I remember hearing myself say it. See Four Brothers. If you've never seen Four Brothers, trust me, that is an excellent film. Sin City. Sin City is a classic. Is one of its kind. I don't want to talk about it really at all here because that will be getting a retro review one day. Yeah. Sin City, Marv, the Yellow Bastard, Jackie Boy. We're going to be talking about that one day. Absolutely. Sahara. Dirk Pitt. It's a fun movie. Brothers Grimm sucked. Hostage was worth watching just for Ben Foster's performance. Unleashed, a kung fu fairy tale where you basically turn a man into a dog. If you've never seen Danny the Dog, you absolutely should see Danny the Dog. It's a great movie. It's hard to think of a film where Jet Li is like perfectly cast. No one else could have played this guy but Jet Li. But that really is the case with this role. Ong Bak. I liked Ong Bak, but I do prefer the Protector over Ong Bak. But I personally think Tony Jaa is one of the best kung fu movie stars of all time. Musicals and melodramas. Walk the Line. Walk the Line is a fun movie, has some good scenes, and while Reese Witherspoon is excellent as June Carter Cash and her Oscar-winning performance